What's up, YouTube? This is Martian, and today we'll be going over SQL injection via the Advent of Cyber 2023. This is day 10, so let's jump right into the learning objectives here. Today we will learn to understand and identify SQL injection vulnerabilities. We're going to exploit stack queries to turn SQL injection into remote code execution. And we're going to help Elf McRed restore the Best Festival website and save its reputation. So we're going to exploit SQL injection and return the website to its original state. So you are expected to have a working knowledge of SQL for this lab. But if you read through it and pay attention to this video, you should be able to get a basic understanding of the intent and this vector. So my machine is up and I have the web page pulled up as well. So that's the web page, and here in the SQL section we have each one of these boxes. So we have the customers box, orders box, products box. These are actually tables in this SQL database. SQL allows you to query for data that is present within the database. For those of you that don't know, these are just your main CRUD functions when it comes to SQL. So CRUD means create, read, update, and delete. And here in the SQL context, we have query, insert, update, and delete. All right, where query would be, your read function or your select function. Take a look at the queries here. So here's a great example. Here we have a select statement snippet that shows pulling the information for where ID 102 is, and that means pulling it from the table and database where this statement is true right here. So we're pulling ornament ID, we're pulling color and category from this table, right? From this perspective, we are not pulling material. So as you can see, it is missing from this category. Whereas above, we're going to pull all from the table where the material is wood, which would indeed return this whole row. Whereas the second one is excluding wood. Down here, we have the insert statement. So inserting this data into these columns within this table. It's very straightforward. And then next we have PHP. So PHP is used for server-side or back-end programming to achieve additional tasks that the user may not understand while using the application. It is both dynamic and it can get pretty complex for someone who doesn't know much about it. Here is an example where PHP is being used to return a color from a URL. Just a brief example of what PHP looks like. Same thing there. And we have the SQL injection portion of it now. So here with regard to SQL injection, with the quotes, we are closing the string, starting our own potentially malicious query at the end. And then we have commented out the rest of the query. Just to put it into perspective, we have select all from table ornaments where color equals or 1 equals 1. That is blank, all right? So that equals pretty much everything. So returning the whole data set that's there. And we have or 1 equals 1. Which also means that we're going to make this query always return true if successful. Then going down into stacked queries. So stacked queries, they are exactly as they sound. This is where attackers are able to add more queries in order to achieve an action. So we have more than one query being put on top of each other to achieve more than one thing. Keeping that in mind for when we test our SQL injection. So the next section is testing for SQL injection, but we're going to head over to the application and take a look. So right off the bat, scrolling through here, we have this would mostly be a query that comes from a search. So this search is going to pull data from a backend database. And this will more than likely be where we need to mess around with testing SQL injection. So let's mess around and try to pull us some data. We'll add a budget to that. All right, so we got some data back. So we're going to try to inject a single quote to see how the application responds. And we have a database error. So during your usual application security assessment in the field, I would particularly refer to this one as being too verbose of an error message. So we have knowledge that this server is running Microsoft SQL, among other information that we can use for how it is parsing the data as well. Now we can take advantage of this information gained and try our standard OR query, which looks like this. 1 equals 1. And commenting out the rest of the query. So we got no error from the database. So we can already see that SQL injection is possible here. The first one was just a general test to see how the database responds. It's not a dead giveaway to SQL injection, but it is like the first step for testing. So we have our query is basically saying return where age equals true. So age is going to be true pretty much everywhere where they have filled in that data. So scrolling in, all right, we have a lot of columns in there that align with age. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for how to abuse that particular injection. But we're going to go take it a step further and try to achieve RCE. So we know that that's possible there. Let's take a copy. Put that there. Good to go. So we can't replicate it. All right. So we're knowing that. Good to go on that. So next we have stored procedures. XP command shell is a stored procedure that could allow for RCE on the system. If we can enable it in any way, we can run commands remotely on this system. We can copy the commands in this section here. Pretty much paste it into our URL. TryHackMe has already. Okay, so it returned no results, but as you can see, it returned no errors as well. So that's a good thing because we did not get an error from the database, which more than likely means that our query up top ran successfully. So let's head back and check RCE. All right, okay. So here we're going to use the payload generator from MSF Venom. This tool is from Metasploit, so we're basically going to use it to trigger certutil in order to get that reverse shell on the system. Just to explain this, NSF Venom is going to generate this payload. -P, the -P flag is to tell MSF Venom which payload we want to use, and it's going to be a Windows system, so we want that reverse shell. The Windows system, the reason why we picked that payload is because we know that it's Microsoft SQL. Here we're going to set L host, localhost. As you can see, that we're going to use our IP, and we're going to use our port right here. And -F means the type of file we want Venom to create, which is an exe, Windows executable. and -o is the reverse.exe, which is what we want to name our executable. Keeping all that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and copy all this and run it on my attack box. Modify accordingly. So up in the top right there, my IP is, let's make this a bit. So my IP is 10.10.153.32. That is the port that I want to use. So let's go ahead and try to generate that payload. In the meantime, we're going to have to host this file in some way. So I'm going to go ahead and start a Python server. And I can start that server just by typing in python-m http.server. And now we're hosting this directory publicly over HTTP. In any files we want to retrieve remotely, we can do that by going to this URL and making sure we indicate this open port. Now our payload is done and we have it on desktop. We have our HTTP server ready to serve up that file. Let's head back here. So here is where we're going to actually try to use SQL injection in order to retrieve this file from my system. So let's go ahead, let's run this one more time. So if we paste that and we modify, what's our IP? 10.10.153.32. Okay, so no errors, all right? Second thing we want to check is, did it get that file? It did get that file. We got a status 200 code. So we're good to go. So from here, we do have to set up our environment in order to be prepared to listen for that reverse shell. So we can do that by setting up the netcat listener. So usually just netcat lnvp and select the 4444 port. Now we're listening for any reverse shell. So next thing we have to do from here is actually trigger that executable that we sent and try to get the system to actually run it. So let's go ahead and do that again. Paste it. And we have the XP command shell there trying to run the exe. And all we have to do is run that. And as you can see, it hangs. It hangs a bit because it is trying to actually, complete the instructions, which were to run that remote shell. So now we have Windows System 32. All right. So this web page, if you want to maintain connection with the website, you have to expect that this web page will hang because you are actively connecting through a shell. All right, just to make sure we are good to go and can actually execute commands. We run who am I and we have SQL Express. Okay, so we're all set up here. So let's go and see what questions we can answer. Find a vulnerable search form. What is the first web page you come across that contains the GIF finding feature? So we have GIF results, but that was only after we have so it's got to be GIF search.php. because that was the actual gift finding feature. Analyze the SQL error message. Which driver is that? So we have, where's that error message? Oh, looks like we don't have an error message. No problem. We can get one. And we have ODBC driver 17 for SQL Server. And that has to be it. Okay, so inject the 1 = 1 condition into the gift search form. So we did that. Looks like we have to do a bit more scrolling on our results there. Just doing a bit more scrolling. I'm not seeing the flag just yet. It's probably at the bottom. Yep. So it's at the bottom here. Let's paste that into TryHackMe. All right. So what's the flag in the note file? Greetster left behind on the system. So now we have to actually go back to our shell. And knowing that this is a Windows system, let's go there. All right, yeah, so got a whole bunch of DLLs in there. So because we're in system 32, let's go /users, see what's going on in here. cd/administrator. Is that a typo? cd. Let's see what's in here. Yep, let's check out the desktop. Let's see what's in here. All right, so we have that note. So on Windows, it is not nano, or however you would, cat it out. It is actually type. And running type note.txt. He left us a note here, but what we need is the flag. Good to go there. Okay, so let's head back and actually read the note now. After you gain access to the server, you can deface the website by running deface website.bat. And it looks like we can restore the website by running restore website.bat. So since it's already in this directory, and we're here, good to go there. And usually on a Windows device, it's going to run or recognize that file extension right off the bat. So we don't need any preparatory commands. Restore website.bat. And now it's restoring. So please refresh the home page, index.php. So yeah, let's do that. Let's see what we got. So going back to home page, and we have our final flag there. Okay, yeah, that was pretty fun. That's pretty much it for SQL injection at a high level. So we went from SQL injection into RCE. The attack process, real world, would look exactly like that. Just triggering the database and seeing how it responds, and then seeing what you can do with it. Having those stored procedures are pretty handy for for the attacker. So yeah, feel free to check out the challenge, and Have a good one.